Schmo with the pro, with the voice of the UFC, the play-by-play man, Mr. Jon Anik in the flesh, UFC 274. How we doing?
I'm doing better now. You know how much I feed off of your energy, and thankfully, we didn't connect this morning as we were scheduled to because a lot has changed, as you know.
A lot of drama went down behind us schmoments ago. Charles Oliveira, the champion, he doesn't make weight. It's history. It's never happened before in the history of this company, the UFC. Lots of implications now.
I'm massively disappointed. I'm disappointed for Charles. I'm not going to go so far as to say I'm disappointed in Charles because seemingly he was on weight last night. He was on weight in the back, and we're hearing rumblings on the ground that there were some scale recalibrations and some discrepancies, but it is what it is. You know, the only thing that Charles can control now is his performance, and all indications are that he is fighting to be the number one contender right now. But it makes things a little bit anticlimactic when I think about crafting my pay-per-view open, you know, instead of glorifying Charles and talking about him maybe closing the gap on some of the lightweight greats like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Instead, we're talking about this as the narrative and this stain on his lightweight championship legacy.
And the Schmo saw you active on social media. If there was ever a push for digital scales, now might be the time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of opinions on both sides of that. Certainly some people suggest the digital scales also have their issues, but to me, it's 2022. Try to eliminate as much of the human error or human manipulation, for lack of a better way to put it, as possible, and let's go to the digital scale. You know, mine's pretty accurate every day. I don't know.
Well, you're looking pretty svelte right now, Mr. Anik.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Trying to cut weight. I got to fight at flyweight if I ever fight, so trying to get under 150. We're like 149 right now, so.
Close enough, but what does this all mean for the lightweight division? If you're Charles Oliveira, what are you fighting for? You're fighting for another one contender position? What's it mean for the Dustin Poiriers, the Conor McGregors?
It's, you know, you put it well, and I think we always thought if something like this happened, what would be the motivation for Charles Oliveira or somebody in his position to actually compete? And I guess it's money, and it's also the fact that he needs to reclaim sort of that number one contender status. Certainly, if you're Conor McGregor sitting home on vacation or wherever you are, you got to feel pretty good about this. I think for Dustin Poirier, it's intriguing to see what might happen here because what you do know is that you're not going to get a rematch between Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje, and I just think for a lot of those lightweights, maybe you want to see Justin Gaethje emerge, which I think would be a little bit of a cleaner result, but I think for a lot of us on the ground, we're just sort of digesting this in real time, you know.
A special schmoment that is now overlooked was Danger Cerrone on the scale with Cowboy Cerrone. Maybe a small chance that this is the last time we see the legend on the scale. Download Cowboy Cerrone. What's your overall thoughts against Joe Lozon?
Yeah, I mean, my gut reaction is that this will not be the final time that we see Donald Cerrone compete. I think he's really buoyed by the fact that he had a great training camp. And, you know, I think a big part of the motivation, candidly, is that his son is now old enough to watch him compete. He's going to be in the building. Same thing for Michael Chandler. His son Hap's going to be in the building for the first time. I think that can kind of go both ways, if I'm being honest, you know. And even when you talk about Justin Gaethje competing here at home, is that a hindrance or is that something that will help push him and give him an adrenaline boost? I really don't know. But I'm excited to see Cerrone. I think for Cerrone and Ferguson, two guys who are legends, future Hall of Famers, much maligned right now, I think they're both going to compete well. I really do.
The Schmo just ran into Dorino, Gilbert Burns. He's here. He's been on social media asking for a fight. Him and Jorge Masvidal. Maybe a little bit of a verbal agreement online on Twitter. Do you like that fight in the welterweight division?
I love that fight. You know, we need some welterweight clarity here. Obviously, it appears as though Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards are going to settle their business. Maybe it'll be Khamzat Chimaev against someone like Nate Diaz. But Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal makes all the sense in the world. I also think a fight between Gilbert Burns and Colby Covington makes sense. Perhaps Covington at times has been lukewarm to that suggestion, but the welterweight division's in good shape right now. I just hope a lot of those top guys fight each other. That's really what I want to see happen.
Then what about Khamzat Chimaev if it's not Colby Covington?
It's a good question. You know, I mean, certainly there are some rumblings that maybe it would be Nate Diaz. I think for me, the dream fight at the dream non-title fight at welterweight right now is indeed Khamzat Chimaev versus Colby Covington. But if Colby isn't ready, I wouldn't turn my nose up, as crazy as it may sound, in a non-title situation at an immediate rematch between Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns. There are rumblings that we're going to be back on ABC maybe as soon as July. Why would you not run it back? It was an epic fight the first time around. You don't think fans would be excited to see that again? So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility if they can't get Colby to sign on the dotted line.
Well, speaking of running it back in fights in July, it was announced International Fight Week. Volkanovski stepping up to the plate. We're going to see him in Holloway 3. If Volkanovski gets through Holloway a third time, is it start time we calling him the greatest featherweight of all time, Mr. Anik?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right, as these guys sit with incomplete legacies to make any historical proclamations, right? Max Holloway, to me, I know there are a lot of Jose Aldo, King of Rio backers out there, but for me right now on paper, Max Holloway is the greatest featherweight in history. But Volkanovski has 2 head-to-head wins against those guys, right? I can sit here and tell you Joanna Jędrzejczyk is the greatest strawweight of all time. Rose Namajunas has 2 head-to-head wins against her. So certainly that's a huge legacy fight for Volkanovski and Holloway. I just think this version of Volkanovski, Max Holloway's gotten a lot better too, but this version of Volkanovski is so much better than the first time they competed. So, I think Volkanovski will probably be the favorite, but Max obviously has had 2 outstanding performances back-to-back. So it's a huge fight. I'm excited to see it.
Well, Mr. Anik, the Schmo can stand up here all day and pick your brain, but as you say, the hay is in the barn. We got the ceremonial weigh-ins. We got one more sleep. That's trademarked now. Final message to all the Jon Anik fans out there worldwide.
Well, I appreciate all the support sincerely. Keep supporting this guy as well. And I know it's been kind of a messy day here at UFC 274, but let's keep the shine on the athletes. It's obviously still a big card, and Justin Gaethje might walk out of here in his home state with a world title. So I know we're all sort of in this morass of negativity right now, but hopefully we'll get the focus back on the fighters and the competition here in a couple hours.
And make sure you tune in to the Anik and Florian podcast weekly episodes.
My man, every Monday it hits on our YouTube channel. Thank you for that, my man.
He's the pro. I'm the Schmo. Phoenix, Arizona, UFC 274. We're out.